JSB Talks Digital.
Hello and welcome to JSB Talks Digital, the podcast for marketers, bloggers, business owners, and those of you bringing your skills into the digital age. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke, and this podcast is brought to you by Digital Training Institute. Coming up in today's show, in social media news, Facebook releases new report on brand loyalty and millennials. Twitter rolls out quick replies and welcome messages in direct messages. 88% of HR professionals are using social media for employer branding. I interview US-based social media strategist Ted Rubin about the US presidential election. Shoutouts to 3 very different events that I'm speaking at. JSB's column, did social media help Donald Trump to get the keys off the White House? And find out what social media tool saved my working week.
Social media news.
This week in social media news, Facebook has undertaken some very valuable research for us marketers. They recently surveyed 14,700 millennials in the US to test their brand loyalty. Millennials are seen to be brand agnostic. However, this latest piece of research from Facebook might suggest otherwise. The results found that 77% of people are considered brand loyal, returning to the same brands over and over again. Of these, 37% make repeat purchases and are loyal to a company, while 40% make repeat purchases, but they're not necessarily loyal. The report also highlights some key considerations about millennials. It found that loyalty is driven by emotion, and service and trust are key factors in this demographic, repeatedly doing business with you. Facebook says that millennials do want to become brand loyalists. They're 1.75 times more likely than boomers to say they'd be brand loyal, but sometimes challenges outside of their control influence their purchasing decisions, such as access to a brand, healthy options on a food menu, location, or even hygiene issues. Another interesting finding is that millennials care about price, but guess what? Experience matters more. I have the full report highlights on my blog, so be sure to jump over to digitaltraining.ie to read more about millennials and brand loyalty. Twitter is inviting businesses on their platform to speed up customer service with quick replies and welcome messages in direct messages. In a blog update, they say that the 2 new features will create better conversational experiences between business people and people on Twitter. Quick replies and welcome messages in DMs, they say, make it easier for businesses to guide people to better outcomes through a combination of simple automation and human service. I know I don't like automated DMs, but seeing as this is a new Twitter-led feature, will followers react positively to it? Who knows? I guess I'll have to try it out. Social Media Today has launched their inaugural State of Employer Branding Survey. They interviewed 300 industry professionals, providing valuable insights into how branding is currently being used by HR professionals on social media. They found that social media is the most popular employer branding channel. 88% of respondents said that social media was part of their employer branding strategy. That's considerably more than the next closest channel, which was employer review sites like Glassdoor at 55%. Of those surveyed, 72% said that they partnered with marketing for employer branding initiatives. And for companies with a formal employer branding program, this partnership was even greater at 88%. So social media provides the most benefits to employer branding efforts, with 40% of HR professionals indicating that social media provides them with the most benefit for their employer branding strategy. I've got links to the full report on my blog, of course, so if you are a recruiter, go check it out.
Shoutouts.
My shoutouts in the show go out to 3 events I've been invited to speak at. JSB has been very busy talking digital on the speaking circuit. I love sharing my knowledge and know-how with a wide variety of people and organisations. It keeps things interesting for me. I spoke at the Northern Ireland Small Business Conference in Newry recently, addressing 200 business owners on how to navigate the social web. Interestingly, much of what I believe to be obvious social media tactics are actually being missed by many small business owners. SMEs don't have budgets to outsource or indeed to create new social media management positions, and many companies are shooting in the dark when it comes to their social media strategy. However, with a little bit of smart advice and training, they could begin to deliver results. I'm looking forward to speaking at the upcoming Health Informatics Society of Ireland annual conference and scientific symposium, which will examine the main issues in making Ireland's e-health strategy a reality. My work on law enforcement and social media is bringing me into new industries such as healthcare, as decision makers seek ways of integrating good social media and digital practice into their organisations. My presentation will address such issues as professional ethics in social media practice and integrating best practice into a healthcare environment. Social media is a fundamental communications tool, and I'm seeing more and more organisations seeking out advice on how to implement strategy, but with a strong focus on digital citizenship, which is very welcome. So find out more about this event at www.hisi.ie. I'm making a return trip to the EU Parliament to deliver another social media workshop for MEPs and their advisors. Politics and social media is a combination that works perfectly, but much like in business, you have to convert fans into customers and, in the case of politicians, convert them into voters. I'm talking a lot about politics and social media on today's show, so I thought this trip warranted a mention here. Finally, if you have an event you want me to give a shout out to, be sure to get in touch. Tweet me the details to @tweetsbyJSB.
JSB's column.
Do you remember when Kim Kardashian broke the internet with a nude pic of her behind? Well, it's safe to say that Donald Trump really broke the internet on November the 9th, 2016, when he was announced President-elect of the United States of America. It was announced to a sleepy US audience who had stayed up to watch the results, and an equally sleepy international audience who were waking up to the news. The tweet machine went on fire, Facebook went into algorithmic shock, and everyone on Snapchat was filming the TV coverage. Here are some entertaining tweets. So Clint Eastwood tweets, "Boy oh boy, will I be firing a huge amount of rounds tomorrow. At Schwarzenegger, you up for it, buddy? Bring the big guns. #election night." Meanwhile, Santa Claus tweeted, "Christmas cancelled. #election night." But the question I want to pose is, what role did social media play in the election of Donald Trump as the 45th President of the United States of America? I'm considering this question as the dust settles on what has been one of the dirtiest and most controversial elections in US history. I complained previously on this podcast that Donald and Hillary were ruining my social media experience because they were dominating every newsfeed on almost every social network. However, as I look back to the 9th of November and my 4 social media posts on Twitter, Snapchat and Facebook that morning, all 4 of my updates mentioned Donald Trump. Not for the reason that I supported or would have supported him, but simply because I was engrossed by the conversation around the election result. So it got me thinking, if this was my experience, then I suspect that non-Trump supporters were also talking about Trump on social media. In fact, MediaQuant evaluated the earned media coverage, that being free media mentions, of the candidates. So while Hillary gained $750 billion worth of earned media over the election campaign, Donald got a whopping $200 billion worth. So this tells us something, doesn't it? But let's look at his rise to social media fame. In a Fox News poll released on May 13th, Trump placed 9th among possible Republican presidential nominees. On July 17th, an update on the same poll showed Trump in first place with a solid 3-point lead over Walker, a surge that tracks closely with Donald's popularity growth on Twitter. He gained more than 380,000 new Twitter followers in just 2 months. He controlled the conversations across all media, and that surely gave him an advantage. Negative campaigning gets coverage, and I've been guilty of commenting or sharing Donald Trump's negativity. So, Did people follow him even if they weren't supporters of his, just to see his viral tweets? Because, let's face it, when you pick a fight with the Pope, that's going to get retweeted. Pollsters have also looked at the demographic of Donald Trump's votes. Trump, who once famously declared that he loved the uneducated, got plenty of love back from white voters who never graduated from college. He got 7 in 10 votes from non-college educated white men and 6 in 10 votes from non-college educated white women. The advantage Trump had among whites without a college degree compared with whites who graduated from college was the largest seen in exit polls for a Republican since the survey started in 1972. Clinton, meanwhile, got the support of less than a quarter of white men without a college degree. Barack Obama, by contrast, drew about a third of their votes 4 years ago. So, if Trump was focused with detailed precision on his demographic and understood who would vote for him because he was certainly consistent with his tone of his messages over the 18-month campaign, then maybe he worked social media smartly. Because, as we know, you can find your target audience right across the social web. I'm going to pose the same question to Ted Rubin, a social media strategist, a keynote speaker, a brand evangelist, and the man who coined the phrase return on relationship. Ted, thanks for joining me on JSB Talks Digital. I know you aren't a Trump supporter, but before we get into that conversation, I want to ask you, did social media help Donald win the keys to the White House?
Of course, undoubtedly. But, I think you have to expand upon that and not just call it social media, but call it just marketing in general. I mean, I'm unfortunately not stunned, as I'm sure many of my followers, all my followers know. You're aware I'm totally against a Trump presidency, although now it exists. But I'm unfortunately not stunned. I said for a while I believed this would happen, and that is why I did everything possible in my power to help affect the opposite result. You have to keep in mind that this is all about marketing. Okay, it's proof positive that marketing works and that social marketing works. No one, even in the Trump camp, in my opinion, will make a direct claim that he is actually qualified. They have done an incredible job selling, marketing the need for change, no matter who the change agent is and no matter what he used to support or express that need for change. So make no mistake about it. Social media has found its place driving the marketing of the most significant win and marketing campaign in American history. I guess all the experts preaching you can't change people's minds about politics using social media miss this one.
And do you think, Ted, people like you who were anti-Trump supporters, by virtue of you giving him so much social media airtime, actually aided his success?
I don't believe that. I think that there's a few things at play here. First of all, when you're social or when you use your influence and express your opinion, you're not just doing it for the end result. You're also doing it because you want people to know who you are, what you stand for, what's important to you. You want to share that. And more importantly, in my opinion, is you want to create the conversation. Like I did give space for a lot of anti-Trump people to speak on my page because as long as they were appropriate and respectful, and some of them weren't, I had to delete their comments, when they did. I don't mean because of their opinions, but because of the way they expressed them, or they showed hatred or racism or things like that. But it created a conversation. It helped me learn more about who they are, more about this whole movement, more about who the Trump people are. And no, I back to your question. No, I don't think it did, because there's plenty of people bigger than me and with bigger platforms than me that were positive, for Trump and were supporting him. What he really did incredibly well, okay? It is the most significant thing here is it points to the incredible marketing, social, community building effort of his campaign. He listened. He listened to the electorate. He found what touched their base emotions, what they were scared of, what they wanted. And then this guy, he's the ultimate silver spooner insider, won a campaign that was about casting aside and rebelling against political and financial elites. I mean, think about what a great marketing that is. Here's a guy who's all about the gold element, making money. He was born rich. His father gave him money. His father bailed him out time and time again, and then he used the system to bail himself out. He donated to politics. He was a Clinton supporter for years and years when it did him good, and now he's got himself labeled as an outsider. I mean, what a remarkable job. And you can't just do that with billboards. You do that by getting into the hearts and minds of people. And to me, that's social media that helped affect that. I mean, he spent a fraction of what the Clinton campaign spent on traditional media, and he did it by touching people's emotions and getting them to get in, have conversations, talk about it, share about it. And then, of course, he also got out there and was totally social. Remember, social isn't just about social platforms. Social is about getting in front of people, speaking to people, talking about them, being in front of them, talking the way he did, and then, taking advantage of their fears. I mean, and I find it very scary, but it's also a tremendous learning experience. And I think, look, in the end, what people that know me know what I try to do is I try to look at the silver lining. Number one is I think as a social marketer and a preacher of content, about storytelling, of engagement, that this is a major hallmark moment.
Do you think that social media can unite the United States of America? A front page newspaper in Ireland this week, the headline was "The Divided States of America." Can Trump now use social media for good?
Well, look, of course he could. I don't know what he's going to do. I have no idea of seeing into his mind. The U.S. presidency is a very unique thing in that, before they even take office, they're thinking about the next election. When you've been elected for the first time. So, do I think he'll use it for good? I don't know, but it's not really about him. It's about us. Everyone's saying, "Oh my God, look what's happening," and we still do speak our minds. And do we want to do? But that's not up to him. That's up to us. That's up to the people. And I in a post I made, I said us. No, pun was intended. Us, U.S., United States. So what I think social will allow is for us to have a better view than in the past into what people are saying and thinking. Like back before this was available, an election like this could have been incredibly decisive because everybody would be talking about, "Oh my God, what's going on behind closed doors? What are all those Trump supporters doing in their homes and in their towns? Are they preparing to do horrible things?" Which, by the way, I don't believe that. I'm just saying, and you could build up that kind of fear. But now, since things are so transparent and there's so much of an ability through live video and all the other tools we have, that we're going to see what's really happening. These are regular people. These are people like that, us. They're not arming themselves to horrible things aren't going to happen. The world's not going to fall apart. We're going to move on, and if we do what we need to do, every one of us is going to find our own silver lining. For me, it's that social media has come of age, and as a dad, this election helped connect myself and my daughter.
I am wearing your wristband that says #NoLetUp, and you talk about return on relationship. Trump didn't let up the whole way through the 18-month campaign, but do you think that he's now benefited from the return on relationship and that's manifested itself in him now being president-elect?
Well, he's certainly gotten a return on relationship on all the relationships he's built and all the hands he's shaken and all the talks he's had and all the outreach he's done. And by the way, I want to make something clear. There are times where you can say someone didn't give it her all. Hillary Clinton gave it her all. There have been elections where you say, "Oh my God, if they had done this, if they had done that, if she'd just been out there more." I think this woman put it all out on the table. And it just didn't happen. It wasn't the time. But I definitely believe there's a tremendous return on relationship for Trump. And let's just hope that he used this for the benefit. Let's hope he changed a little bit of his rhetoric. Let's hope that he doesn't really deliver on some of these preposterous promises he's made. And let's hope that in the end, he is anxious to do more good for America and not necessarily just good for Trump.
And finally, Ted, will you have President-elect Mr. Donald Trump on your Facebook Live show to bridge hearts, minds and non-Trump voters?
Well, first of all, I doubt he'd come on my Facebook Live show.
You never know.
But I really, truth be told, I would not be interested. Not at this point. I need to see more going forward. I'm not looking to mend any fences with someone until I see exactly what his intentions are. So for me, that's not what I do. If that's what I did, if that was my job, if I was a journalist, if I was someone involved in the traditional or very upfront media, then I would be out there because I want to bring everybody on my show. For me, it's a little bit more about what's important to me. And right now, what's important to me is to figure out how this works for me and the people I care about. How we can start affecting change in the future. Remember, what's really important is staying involved and make your voice heard. This is not over. This is just beginning.
Ted Rubin, I hope you've enjoyed exploring our country with Sean Nolan, who was very kind to bring you around. Delighted to see you again this week, and thank you so much for coming on JSB Talks Digital. And I look forward to hearing more from you when you're back stateside, but via social media.
I'm looking forward to it, too. Listen, this is very new, and if you saw my Facebook page, I actually want to get into my blanket fort on my bed and stop being an adult just for the day. I'm also wearing my Irish drinking socks, and I think today is the perfect day to exercise that right, to back a few with my buddy Sean Nolan, who took me around the country. And Joanne, thank you so much for having me on the show. It was great seeing you, and I'm looking forward to next time.
Sláinte. Enjoy, Ted. Bye-bye.
Social media tool of the week.
Do you know how much a customer is worth to your business after you calculate the cost of winning them? The social media tool that saved my working week this week is the Customer Lifetime Value Calculator. It's a metric that helps you make decisions around how much to spend marketing to a potential customer, the types of products or services you might offer, the value in retaining that customer, and the pricing model for various products or services. The calculator asks you for 3 figures in order to understand the profit you make on a customer. They are the average order value, the repeat purchase rate, and the customer acquisition cost. This tool will make you think very seriously about the types of customers you go after. So why don't you get to know your business a little bit better? Crunch your numbers at customerlifetimevalue.co. Thanks as always for tuning in to JSB Talks Digital. I'm going on the road again and will be bringing my mic with me. I'm working on an episode focusing on how social media and digital can be used to empower healthcare professionals and patients, so listen out for that. I'm really enjoying looking at different industries and how they are applying social media and digital marketing tactics in their businesses. As always, I have everything discussed on today's show on my blog at digitaltraining.ie. And to ensure you never miss an episode of JSB Talks Digital, make sure you subscribe on your smartphone on iTunes or Stitcher. You can also subscribe on SoundCloud. 20 minutes on a Friday can really keep your digital knowledge in shape. If you're interested in becoming a guest on JSB Talks Digital or have an event you want to promote, drop me an email to joanne@digitaltraining.ie. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover, tweet me at tweetsbyjsb or send me a snap to JSB Snaps. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
JSB Talks Digital.